How can I welcome him? Phil Schuch Master, or Schuchi. Welcome on stage. It's all yours.
Haben ja doch noch ein paar den Weg hierhin gefunden.
So a few of you have found their way here. I think I could need a hammock now. The day is drawing to an end, but it's great to see you all here. The most precious things in life are not those you get for money. I think that's a phrase many of you will have heard before, or even used. You would probably spontaneously agree it's a problem in society that money is given too much priority in society. And even in the tech industries, we are seeing this. Because this is a phrase that the following companies will have taken to their hearts too. Because all these companies, most of which you will know, such as Spotify, Sing or Tinder or Slack, you would have heard of them. And all these companies offer their products free of charge. Well, why do they do that? Well, you call this a freemium business model. Freemium meaning free plus premium. So there's a free version of the product, and somehow, via subscriptions also, you can buy into other features, and that's the way they monetize on their products. How come? Well, in e-commerce, we would probably not think about offering a product in a shop free. Why would you? Why would you give something away for free? That's absolute nonsense. You wouldn't make money. But people have changed so much. Society has changed so much through digital change. Anything is available online. And somehow we tend to believe that this should be free. Even agency services should be free. And we thought, well, we might have to change something. We should have to offer something free of charge to people if they want to use it, because there are so many competitors. There are Apple, Google, Amazon, and other large technology companies that are firmly established in the market, and competing against them is not so easy. So a free product might be a very easy point of access, because people don't find it is so difficult to use that product. They don't refrain so much, and you benefit from the growing number of users. As the service is free of charge, people like to share it, they like to recommend it to friends, and they don't find that there's so much of a problem to use them. And once they're there, these users, you might actually, once they're using the product, make them pay for your service. I've brought you some stories. You certainly won the story of Spotify. Spotify is quite interesting as a story, because it was in the late 90s or in the early noughties when the music industry was in chaos, because the internet and file sharing services put the musical industry into predicament, because everybody could obtain any song free of charge without any additional cost. It was just at no cost at all, via the internet. Sebastian Ek from Sweden, Daniel Ek from Sweden, then came up with an idea. He wanted to face up to the challenge, but how could you compete with something that's free of charge? Well, piracy, people don't pay. How can you develop a product, engineer a product, that would have to compete against something that's free of charge anyway? It can only be free of charge. So Daniel Ek went out into the great world and told the large record labels that he wanted to develop a competitive product in order to stop online sharing. And they simply said, well, you must be bonkers, because funnily enough, Daniel Ek was well known from the file sharing industry as an entrepreneur, so he wasn't from the best of groups, and he said to the large music labels that they were to offer their music free of charge, and they said, well, Daniel, you must be mad. And yet he went online with the service, and he started in Sweden quite successfully, and the other record labels saw that somehow he could be successful, so they jumped on board, embarked on the idea. Spotify has by now become rather successful, and the thing has become worthwhile. It's become a paid product. There's advertising, firstly, that did it, which helps you earn money, and there are subscriptions, which is the freemium model. You have a free product, as I said before, which is artificially restricted, which is quite easy with software. You can simply add some scarcity at a point, allowing only a certain number of songs to be listened to, or a lower amount of quality, and only when you start a subscription you'll get the full service. And with Spotify this has worked quite well. Here are some statistics of the course of business of Spotify. In the first year, 2008, when Spotify was first released, they managed to reach 1 million users in Sweden in just 1 year. And then all the other record labels embraced the idea, and then started the success story of Spotify, more or less. And a bit later, the number of paid users subscribed were added. Today, Spotify has 159 million active users, of whom 71 million pay for their subscriptions. Just to give you a comparison, other large tech companies, or Amazon and Prime Music of Amazon, have started a similar business. In 2017, Apple Music had 27 million of paid users, and Spotify is an absolute pioneer. Interestingly enough, however, Spotify is still not a company that breaks even. They still have debts with their investors. They're still not in the black. But this year, they had an IPO. They went public, and that was quite interesting because they hadn't done any pricing before, or any pricing mechanism had taken place. So they simply went public, and they were quite successful. The investors believed in the idea, and the value of the company is now estimated at $30 billion. It's quite maddening how much you can reach with such a service. So even now, they don't break even, but as they have such a massive base of users, this company is considered to be worth $30 million. This is not tangible assets. It's just the number of users to be reached via such a service. Now, even if they don't make very much money, even now, and this is also because they have to pay much in license fees to the record labels, most of the money doesn't go to Spotify, because the musical artists and record labels want to earn their share too, if people stream music. But on this note, Spotify has quite a good corporate culture, and as you can see, definitely, illegal music sharing online has gone down virtually to zero. Every second, any other person is with Spotify or somebody else. So online piracy has gone down substantially. So it's been quite successful. The second interesting case I'd like to tell about is Tinder. I think a few of them have visited Tinder. It's about swiping people to the left or right with regard to whether you like them or not. They have a business model that's based on a simple yes or no. But they developed an app, which is quite great, I find, and they have similar business models. There too, there's ordinary advertising, but of course there are subscriptions too. There's Tinder Gold, as it were, where you have some special features. So in this app, you have some artificial scarcening effect, and if you want to reverse your last swipe, for example, you would have to buy a premium feature, and this is possible with a subscription on one hand, or in this case it's not a direct subscription model, but you simply pay in advance for a certain period of time, and then you get the certain feature. So you don't feel there's very much of a threshold to surpass for a subscription. You can simply book it on top. And the next features are the a la carte ones. I find them particularly effective because you pay very little money, and you can do this anytime, really, without having to subscribe permanently. So this provides for something that's really low threshold. So for 25 super likes, you pay 84 cents. This is an amount which doesn't hurt you very much. Well, I say, I need a few super likes. There's a great girl. I need to leave a super like there. I need a bit more, 80 cents, and that's it. End of story. Tinder is quite a good success model. In just a few years, to be precise, in 3 years, they set out in September 2012, they released the app, the match group that is, in September 2012. And in just 3 years, they obtained a user base of 50 million. It's a mobile-only application. And within 3 years, they've reached a customer base of 50 million. And the interesting thing is that at the beginning, this was completely free of charge. Only after 3 years, they began to introduce a paying model. So users actually bore with the producer, with the app producer, and the number of paid users has developed further as well. And today, in this day and age, there's about 3.1 million paid subscribers. There's quite a substantial difference between these two groups. That is, the people using it for free and those who pay for it. But that is actually the sense of the freemium model. What you try is to have as much range as possible so that those people paying are still sufficient in number to monetize and fund the service. There are not precise figures as to what Tinder does in detail, but the match group, where Tinder belongs, had 1.3 billion in revenue in 2017, and experts believe that Tinder accounts for about a third. They've got other online dating portals, incidentally, the match group that is. But they're quite successful with Tinder, and it's a very, very easy and simple mobile app which can't do very much. It just lets you swipe to the left or to the right, and you can log it on to Facebook as well. And with these in-app purchases, which are really small, you can be quite successful. This is what is called micropayments, incidentally. We call it micropayments. If you pay a very small amount within an application where the app doesn't have to be left at all, really, you do it without any further hindrance, because 80 cents is easily spent. If you've placed that in your account with a digital payment provider this day, you don't even notice, really. It's simply debited to your account. And, of course, things sum up after a while. If it's 80 cents all the time, 1,000 times 80 cents is quite a bit of money as well. So if you do it often, it seems to break even. And where this works quite well is the gaming industry. This principle of micropayments is used quite successfully there. And in the gaming world, the freemium model, or free-to-play model, as it were there, has become quite established. Worldwide, people looked into the turnover of PC games by multiplayers, and you can see that free-to-play versus pay-to-play, the free-to-play ones are predominant, but they make so much money. In Asia, it's really drastic. Some 90% of all turnover is created by free-to-play games. So it's quite extreme. And one of the particularly big ones, which you might have heard about in the media, is Activision Blizzard. They're doing so many online games. World of Warcraft, I think, is the best known one. You will have heard of it already. But they've also got a number of other game developers on their portfolio, such as King, for example, doing the Candy Crush Saga, the most successful mobile game ever. And they use these in-game purchases with micropayments in order to earn money. In 2016, Activision Blizzard achieved some $6.6 billion in revenue, and of this, some 3.6 billion was generated only with in-game revenue. That is, some 55% of their turnover was created with micropayments. I believe this is quite astonishing. And I'm going to show you on the grounds of an example how successful this is and how successful they are. You can see the actual nooks and crannies of this. This is really sophisticated, and it's something you can learn from. Heroes of the Storm is one of the games that's completely free to play, so you don't pay even a single penny or cent for it. And any additional feature can only be provided with a virtual currency. There are 3 different virtual currencies. Let me start with the gold. Gold is the first currency, and this can be won during the game. That is, it's a psychological hurdle that you must overcome. If you pay for free, you can actually obtain currency just by playing the game. You get gold just as you play the game. It's very slow, of course, in its process, but you do make some kind of progress. Then you've got gems. You might know the Crush Saga. And this can be charged with real money. So if you want to have gems, you have to pay real money, real cash. And then you've got the shards. I'm going to explain you a bit how that works, how you receive them. But the clever thing about this is that not all things in the game can be switched or released with gold. But clearly, you need the other ones, the other currencies, and you need particularly much of them if you want to have the really sexy features. So you can charge some jewels first. It works like this. And if you look at this chart, you will understand immediately, well, 500 or 1,000 jewels doesn't make any sense really, because they're not any big jewels. There's no real bonus. So you would have to buy jewels for $34.99, otherwise you would only have burnt money really. And actually would have the best option really, the one with the big rubies, so $99.99 would be the least to invest really. That's suggested by this chart. Now the great thing that happens here is that the threshold of buying is more upstream, because you charge your gems, but you haven't bought anything. But the obstacle, what hinders you from buying, has fallen down, fallen by the wayside, because you've already invested. You've already charged your gems account. Now looking further into the game, there's a really cool in-game store. This is just the same as any online store. There are great filters, product listings. You can perform searches, product categories. Products are prepared the right way. You can, for example, provide for new characters and riding animals, for example, all these cosmetic items that make you cooler in the game. So you can go shopping in the game in order to leave the whole experience.
Jetzt?
And what is really crazy, that I can buy things for gold. Some interesting things can be bought with gems, but for the really good things, you need the third currency, the shards. Or I can do something else. I buy a so-called loot box. What is a loot box? Well, this is great again. Most of the items cannot be bought directly. You cannot get them directly, even if you have charged money. But you can buy the opportunity to buy this unit, because you can find this in a fortunate box, and that is the loot box. You can open these loot boxes one after the other, and perhaps you will find the desired item, or you can find 20 shards. So you might get these small shards, and sometimes you find 20 to 50, but in order to buy something great, you need between 1,000 and 5,000 of these shards. So you have to buy a lot of loot boxes for being able to get something great. But it is really a successful game in the United States. And in fact, these games could be prohibited, or at least the players have to be 18 years old. The concept of the loot box, however, is fantastic because people spend their money and, well, this has been taken to court already, and we will see what is going to happen with these loot boxes. But all these psychological barriers are really working because it is a complicated way until you reach your target, and there are so many barriers which are being removed. So I do not even notice that I have spent a lot of money on the way to it. And again, there is nothing like a subscription model here, but I can make experience with my hero, and I can use so-called strip packs, and I can pay them in advance so that I can get the strip pack. And again, this psychological barrier with regard to the subscription is removed, and I can buy a stim pack for 7 days at low cost. And if I want to have it for 30 days or for a year, then I have to invest more, and then again, I'm caught in the game. So here you can see how it works. This is Overwatch, an online game, and you have the same mechanisms here. You have these loot boxes, and over the year, they organize events in regular intervals, and they are specific items offered at specific points of time. That means you have to buy the loot box at the appropriate point of time so that you have the possibility to get the item you want to have. And because of these events, the statistics show that the revenue is then going up significantly. So until the end of 2017, we can identify a curve which is going up. So these events really have a major impact on generating revenue. So this reminds us of drug dealers. How do you can get people addicted to something? You just give them something for free, you give them a little to taste, and then some people can't stop themselves. It is something you get for free, but of course, some people won't play the game, but others will, and this can be sufficient. Well, sometimes I gamble as well. And, well, I wanted to know whether I was also caught in the trap. And I found out on the basis of my PayPal account that I have already spent a surprising amount of money. What do you think? Who does think that I spent more than 100 euros during the last 1.5 years? More than 200 euros? More than 300? More than 500? More than 1,000? Well, I'm not proud to say 1,088. How stupid am I? 1,088, yes, 1,088 euros during the last 1.5 years for online games. Well, I really haven't noticed. Well, I calculated and calculated again and thought this is not possible. 1,088 euros. What else could I have done with this sum of money? Well, I can independently decide upon how to spend my money, but a lot of young people play these games, and many of them are not sensible enough for managing their purse. But this shows that you get addicted and you do not notice anymore the way you spend your money. And how does that work? That is really crazy. The organizers of these games just suck the money in from these stupid people. And in the background, you have a proprietary platform. The game itself is just not that important. But with this product itself, you cannot generate money. It is just the platform on which you move. It is no longer a premium, but a platform commerce. It is a platform on which you have people, they move, and they spend all the time money, and though they are not forced to do that. So how can we use this mechanism in e-commerce? Because this seems to be an idea that we would like to adopt. It seems to be really genius. Could this work with genuine products? Well, I had a look around and I tried to find out whether this is possible. And you find some examples from companies having given away for free physical products. Coca-Cola Zero, for example, they did that. Well, Coca-Cola, they can do that. That can be a marketing gag. Then you can hand out products for free. And Girlfriend Collective, even today, they give out cost-free leggings as soon as you recommend the online shop to your friends. And then you will get a pair of leggings for free because you have carried out social recommendations. But freemium is something else. And of course, a physical product cannot scale as much as digital services, because a digital service, you establish it once and then you can sell it as often as you like. And then you have things like these ones, Amazon.com Prime. This is worthwhile a talk on its own, but it's not really freemium at all. Thinking again at these platforms, then it seems to be quite interesting what Amazon has done here, because this marketplace, first of all, is cost-free. It is a huge online shop, so this is normal. But nevertheless, a premium membership was arranged. The platform itself is free of charge, but there is a premium service. And it is very interesting to see that people using the premium service spend 30% more on this platform than normal users. Prime users spend 30% more on the Amazon platform than those who do not have Amazon Prime. So referring to the last years, it becomes clear that you need a platform. And during the last years, we have discussed a lot about selling products on the basis of the contents. And meanwhile, our online shops have become the platform for their niches. There is a lot of content, a lot of lines with are connected to the products. So we could move back to the origin, the idea of a platform. So I could, in fact, transform the content to a business model. I could transform it to a platform. And then the products will have the functionality of micropayments that users can buy on this platform. But the product itself is no longer in the focus, because the business model is built up on the platform. I guess people have to become more courageous. This might happen sooner or later. I think it is a pending question, and I will be happy to know about their reactions. You can discuss with me via Twitter. You can become my follower. And this is possible by paying 0.98 euros. Thank you.